ground yourself in the truths that you have. It's the fundamentals with data management, with accounting fundamentals, finance best practices. Just get to the point where it's instinct and just where you really feel comfortable with it. I think no matter how overwhelming things can be, just trust yourself with that.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CFI's Member Spotlight, where we get to know our global CFI community. Today, I am joined by Alex Murray, who is in the UK. Welcome, Alex.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you today, and I'm going to open up with the broadest question that I always ask, which is, what got you first interested in finance as a career path? Did you have a family member in the industry, or were you influenced by media? How did you first get your interest? Because the question that I'm going to ask you later, our listeners don't know this, but Alex has a super interesting academic background that is different from the standard kind of cookie cutter path.
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of different things. So I have a family member. My mother worked for HSBC for a very long time. I had a lot of exposure to different people working in that environment. And I think I had a lot of respect for people who working there. I was very curious. People who understood different ways, different things around the world, have very analytical mindsets. And just really, I guess, were in some ways the masters of what they were doing. Some people I came into contact with, and I just found it so interesting as I grew having conversations with them. Now, I ended up studying history at university. I was very interested in different matters throughout the world, and I ended up really falling on the Renaissance period, funnily enough. That was really where I got into it, and it was just the change of the middle class, this working class that, double entry bookkeeping came from this period, and just, I guess, through banking and through finance, actually, it redefined the socioeconomic sort of, structure of its time. And I just went further along, and I decided to do a master's in business. And I just found myself always coming back to, where do I find, I guess, the true viewpoint of a company? And I always found it in the data, and its data, understanding it, creating a story out of it. And I found just that finance was the way to go. And I started my graduate scheme, and I was very lucky to have a mentor to talk me through and just really get me started, introduce me to CFI, and it's led me to where I am now.
And just out of curiosity, from your undergraduate degree, so you did a degree in history, you studied ancient, medieval, and modern history. What was your favorite course or kind of era that you studied during that time?
So I'd say Renaissance, but also if we're going back further, I feel like having grown up during the 2008 recession, studying other like periods where this had happened before in various different ways. So in the ancient world, definitely the collapse of the Roman Empire and the collapse of the Republic beforehand, you could see how economic issues are very constant throughout time, throughout different periods. So when I was studying sort of the mercantile trade of Renaissance, or I guess the fall of some things that you never thought would ever be able to collapse, I think just that aspect, I really found there was a lot of power and a lot of knowledge to be had within there.
And something that I noticed about you is that you've always seemed to have like not just education going on, but you keep yourself busy. You've had like internships and part-time jobs. Um, given that context, when you were going into your undergraduate degree, did you follow what you were just really genuinely interested in learning more about? Or did you ever have at the back of your mind, like, oh, this degree needs to really lead to a job right away?
I think definitely with my first degree, it was just pure interest. It was develop skills, develop myself, and I'm a firm believer. And if you do what you're interested in and follow something and follow that everything else will follow. I think you can find what you enjoy out of a lot of different things and let it take you places, and you'll work harder because of it. So when I went from that, I just decided that I would maybe gear the skills I got from it to something maybe more employable, but I wanted to keep the core value of it's something that I enjoy, and it's something I want to refine. It's something that I can throughout my life refine and just and keep working on, because I feel like that's really what, if anything, drives me. So I think it's really important for me. Yeah.
That's not that's very refreshing to hear because I find that generally that comes from the perspective of someone that is a bit older. I find
Mm.
that most people, particularly that go into finance, have the motivation of, like I have to get a job after this. I really want to work in like a big corporate office for, like JP Morgan or etc. Um, but I would say my one of my best mentors that I've had was at a place called BMO Capital Markets in Toronto, Canada. His name is Andrew Hainsworth. So shout out to Andrew. He, like yourself, was always very passionate about following what he was genuinely interested in. He did a degree. I forget what it was, but it was something like completely unrelated to finance. But he did his master's at Cambridge, and it was something in the arts. I feel like
Mm.
it's been a while, so I forget at this point. But um, I remember him saying, like I just really was interested. I was like fascinated by it. I really liked it, and the topic, while it was completely unrelated to what I did in work, I just wanted to kind of develop my interest
Yeah.
and then I kind of figure it out later. So he remembers, starting his corporate job and he just realized, like I had no background in finance or anything kind of remotely related, but the way that he was able to always, like prompt and ask the right questions and like quickly pick up on things was just so impressive. And it was just as if he'd had already done all these courses for someone that was in like an undergraduate commerce program. And it was just really interesting to see the idea of like you can say it in the future and as like a 40-year-old person to say to someone that's in their 20s, you should just follow what you really love and what you really love and are passionate about, you'll be really good at.
Mm.
And then you continue to grow that way and things should follow naturally. But it's very hard to do when you're in the moment. So I want to take a minute to stop and reflect on that because a lot of our younger listeners that are maybe like um, just going into undergrad or just starting and don't necessarily know what the right path is. Sometimes it is a little bit simpler than you think. It's a hard decision to make, though.
Mm.
Personally, I didn't really know what I was interested in it in. I just knew that it like wasn't science, wasn't into that anymore. I didn't really want to do anything necessarily in the arts. So I was like, oh, like I just do a finance degree. Like let's make it practical. And turns out it kind of was something that I was interested in. But always loved the message that everyone should follow if you are so fortunate enough to be able to follow what you are genuinely interested in, the results will follow.
Mhm. Definitely. I also found it really interesting when you said about asking questions as well. I definitely think that's something that guided me through my path whether it was studying history or business or going into finance, it was just not being afraid to ask questions, but just being curious, asking why. And I think that got me that taught me a lot more, or I guess that mentality taught me a lot more than a lot of different things that would be quite surprising in retrospect.
And okay, so you and I got connected because I was having lunch with Scott Powell. Shout out to Scott, who is one of the original co-founders of CFI. But you know that Scott did his master's at Cambridge in philosophy of all things. And so speaking of being able to ask questions where, they're a little bit more open-ended or theoretical, there's no one that is quite like Scott. I hope that you'll be able to maybe if you're in Vancouver one day, you'll meet Scott in person, but he is the best at just being like super curious, asking really the like I don't want to say unusual because that sounds strange, but he asks like really great questions that get you to know whatever you are researching more in depth. And I think that's such a huge skill is being able to ask the right questions to kind of lead to more and more discussions. Um, but going back to kind of your career path, so you've had internships while you were at, or jobs while you were been studying the whole time. And I think that is not an easy balance to strike. Are there any experiences during that kind of period of time where you were doing your undergraduate, you were doing internships and working that had a lasting impact on you?
I would say definitely at this point, I was working at a fintech called Vestrata, and we were working with essentially advising asset managers on different on the regulatory environment of ESG, and it was definitely interesting to manage because I was also an assistant manager at in retail at the time. So it's doing shift work and it's working from home, and you have to make choices, and you definitely have to be disciplined, and you also have to learn the value of time. I think where you only have so much of an allowance to spend, it's what you're trying to get back, but also what's worth it to you to put into it. And I think that's where I had to make sacrifices because I was working, I was having to work a job I wasn't getting paid for. I had to work a job where I was, and that was, and the other one had to fit around it. And then it was learning in my own time as well, because I was post my work, and I was just trying to post my degree, and I wanted to just find my path. And I think definitely it taught me the lesson that you have to value your time and spend it wisely, but also and just really know what within that means the most long term.
And when you went to Vistrada and you were in that ESG group, did you already have some sort of personal passion and interest in ESG generally, or was it something that you had this opportunity, came across your desk, you took it, and then it eventually kind of sparked an interest for you?
I'd say I came into I learned about the ESG space while I was at uni. Typically, just socially conscious. Yeah, everyone's always quite up to date with current events, and I just found it really interesting. Just when I was studying impact investing, it was using this structure to actually create positive impacts. And whenever I'd speak to someone about it, or I'd talk to someone about it, I just think I always thought that this is such a nice way to use this skill like understanding finance. And I feel like this is a way that you can actually have a wider impact in such an unsurprising way. And I did my dissertation at university on ESG investing with a focus of three case studies of different banks based in different continents around the world, and basically just tried to get an all-encompassing judgment on how sustainable it was long term, whether they were upholding the tenets of ESG, and whether it was and looking at capital markets emissions. I really just I wanted to figure out, first of all, is it actually possible to have the impact that we want, and I think second of all, where could it improve? And it was definitely a new topic which I really liked. It meant I had to learn a lot, but it's just so happened it led to me getting an internship in this space, and definitely learning a lot at the time.
And then after Vistra, tell me how you got your first full time role at Digia.
Yes, so it was actually it was through a connection. So a family friend was the UK head at the time, and basically I got there. I got given an interview, and luckily, because I'm fluent in Spanish and it's a Spanish company, Digi Group. Yeah, it meant that they would have someone on my level that could speak with the head office and work a bit more independently. And I was actually lucky enough to get taught by people who may not have been able to teach me otherwise, because they only spoke Spanish. So it meant that I actually was given he saw the opportunity to give me a much wider network within the company. So he took me in. I had to do 2 days to prepare a presentation on how the company could improve ESG, and how that could in turn help the company, which
I was
was
like,
a bit
no
of a
pressure.
trial by fire, but pressure makes diamonds. So I mean, it worked in the end, and yeah, it's been a great experience learning there, and it actually got me in touch with my first ever mentor, my manager, the project finance manager of the company. He taught me how to read financial statements, how to Excel pretty much almost from the ground up, and he advised me to go to learn from CFI as well.
Oh, so did your manager take CFI courses in his career?
Yes, he did the
Oh,
FMVA course as well. Yeah,
do you know when he took it?
yeah, like a passing the
He's been
baton.
around for 10 years. I wonder
Yeah,
if he started taking it when, do you roughly know kind of like what year he took our courses?
it may have been 5 years ago. He was quite young. Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
5 years ago or something. Yeah, yeah. It was back. I think he was what he's was working in Paris at the time, I believe.
So when you started your full-time role, what would you say that what surprised you most about working in a finance role compared to what you kind of expected going into it?
I'd say I was really interested with how commercially minded you had to be, because when someone thinks of finance, they think of P&L, cash flow. They think of just numbers on the screen, and they think about what the numbers are, but not always what they mean. And I think and that's where my understanding of it really changed. Where I was in strategy meetings, and I was using the data to actually tell a story of how the company was doing. I was giving, and I surprised myself on my understanding of it, but I really think it was just how valuable it can be in affecting decision making and not just telling people the state or reporting. I think it's I think it's definitely in some ways in a transitionary place where it's less of a reporting tool now and more of an actual like strategic impact or like decision making process, which I found really interesting. Definitely.
Okay, just curious, how many other languages do you speak?
I speak English, Spanish, and French, but just like less French, more through understanding Spanish.
I always find that like so obviously I'm based in North America, and while I do speak English, Korean, and Chinese, I used to speak Spanish like fairly decently because my childhood best friend is Mexican, but it just goes away so fast. But it's a huge benefit to be able to speak another language fluently.
Hmm. Definitely, it's helped as well. Whenever I've gone. My brother's currently set up a company in Spain, so I helped him do the financial model for that. So I had to go over and prepare because he had investor meetings with to do crowdfunding. So being able to actually present a financial model in another language, I don't know if I would have been able to do otherwise in that case. Definitely, it was a benefit and also just to be able to help my brother, something like that. That was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I find is that sometimes the power of language is something that I never really thought about until I started using it in like a workplace. I find that the more it's not necessarily that the more fluent you are in a language, but the more you understand a language and the culture, um,
Mm,
it actually really does shape your thinking. So I find that if I'm thinking and working in English, there are things that I would have never thought about or been able to necessarily communicate just
mm.
by working in Korean if I was working in the same project, same company.
Mm. I agree with that. I think definitely working in a Spanish company, I've appreciated directness in a lot of different ways. I definitely think there's a corporate culture change where, for example, definitely some managers have had no problem going cutting straight to the chase on why I was wrong on something or why. But for me, that was where I did my some of my best learning. So it was I definitely think it does give you another perspective, which is really useful.
And tell me, what is your day to day like in your current role? What are the things that you like the most? And yeah, what do you find yourself doing in your day to day role as a financial analyst today?
So in my day-to-day role, it involves with liaising a lot with accounting to get whenever we have our next monthly closings to get data to put into our financial models. So this is operational model. I'm making sure I'm measuring the performance of a lot of different projects we have. This is both solar and electric vehicle charging, and these are hubs around the world. So for me, it's like making sense of a web of all these different performance performing entities that's something I really enjoy. We also do site screenings. So our company invests a lot in real estate for the purposes of developing and looking at a site and really looking at the qualitative and quantitative facts of it. So foot traffic versus what amenities are nearby. I think keeping a commercial hat whilst also using financial knowledge, for me, that's such an interesting part of my role. It's also a part where everything's always new because it's learning more different parts about different parts of the country. I always have to check out and understand different things, and you start to piece together and think, oh, I've seen something like this before, and it definitely informs strategic thinking when I'm in the room with the head of the UK or the finance director, and we're discussing all these different aspects of a potential investment, and I'm able to give my input on it, which I really enjoy.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And so, with your on the job training, did you have like a training program that you joined when you were at the company? I know that a lot of companies have, graduate intake programs where you kind of form a class, so to speak, which is a
Yeah.
little bit of an extension of university. You make friends, you learn all the skills that you're kind of going to be expected to use as you start your new role. Did you have that at Digya?
Not particularly, no. It was somewhat of a. I was involved with different departments, so would have been finance, it would have been a bit of marketing, it would have been strategy and sustainability. So and I helped a lot of the different managers within that space, but I quickly found myself gravitating towards the finance side of things and strategy. So eventually, I told the finance manager that I wanted to learn pretty much everything I could from him. So he sort of took me from the basics, and with the consent of the UK director, just taught me data management at first. Just taught me how to manage in Excel, how to update it without any of without the financial knowledge, and it just took it step by step with that, and really just enriched me then with like learning more about actual accounting standards, accounting uh, just learning financial statements. And I think from there it was very much a step by step, but it was more of a, you see, like, had to seize the opportunity, but they gave me the opportunity to focus in wherever. But I'd say with my company, as it was more of a startup in the UK, it really meant that there was less boundaries for you to work within. So if I wanted to help in marketing, I put my hand up. If I wanted to help with strategy, it was definitely up to me. But that also helped me get a wide range of understanding of different parts of business as well.
So I don't know about you, but for me, when I started my first role as investment banking analyst, I was hired off cycle. So I had to wait 6 months before we had that nice like investment banking analyst training program, make friends, like
Yeah.
spend a whole week together doing all sorts of Excel modeling and learning everything that you need. So like first 6 months was extremely painful for me, and the only way I was learning was by making like not like huge mistakes, but basically, at one point, I remember my associate was like, "Oh, it's great! Like you're learning new things because I don't think I've really ever seen you make the same mistake twice." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm like busy making so many new ones, right?" But um, I remember when I joined CFI like a number of years ago. Now, I kind of the big thing that excited me about our company was it was at that point in time. We're talking like 2019. It was something that I just thought, man, I wish I had this when I started, because it would
Yeah.
have been so much less painful for me.
Yeah.
But I find that people are so much more resourceful these days because there's so many new things and tools out there that allow people to learn on their own time, kind of at their own pace, even though, as you've said, time is very limited. When you found CFI, though, and you took the FMBA, can you share with me how that experience was like for you? What did you find that you kind of what did you find changed in your day to day, in your workflow before versus after you took the program?
I definitely say the standards I held myself to. So just the checking and just when I was starting going on a model, it was thinking about the outputs. I was thinking about the high level outputs that I was going for before, and then working my way back. Whereas before I might just focus on assumptions and just and then build it out. Because where there's so many different levers in what I do, including sensitivity analysis, was a game changer as well. Where I could actually really show some value in terms of I would recognize immediately what levers needed to be used, and I could bring that straight into a board meeting and using conditional formatting again, which I learned from CFI. I think that was definitely a big higher level game changer that I got in the end in my career.
And you're responsible for helping put together RFPs, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and sensitivity analysis would like certainly help there. I just remember also to go back to that. Um, One of my friends was worked. She was on the, I think it was called, we called them P3. There's a different name for it now, but it's public private partnerships. And the bank would put in a RFP for every kind of major one that came about. And the big thing was sensitivity analysis. And I just remember being so impressed first time I saw their analysis and the way that it was put together in a pitch book. I think I must have been, like out of university for like 3 months. And previously I was working in a buy side shop. So, at an asset manager, we're not putting together presentations. Generally, we are more kind of like reviewing assets, looking at what we want to invest in and whatnot. But we're not actually putting together large presentations because we're not pitching to anyone.
Mm.
But I just remember being so impressed by how just like how polished and put together everything looked. I just remember being blown away thinking, I can't believe this came out of an Excel presentation. But then having that all be presented in like three different scenarios and then being able to answer all the questions that come up on like, okay, for scenario A, you like these were your assumptions, but like what led you to choose these and like how do you think it'll impact X? I thought it was always so impressive.
Mm.
I'm curious, do you think you're gonna pursue another kind of designation next, like an account I don't know what the UK equivalent is. I think it's still CPA.
So
Do you have it
we have a
do
couple.
that or like
Yeah,
CFA?
there's ACA, ACCA, CIMA as well, CIMA. I'd consider the CIMA because it's like Chartered Management Accounting, but I think I definitely consider it. But I think at the moment I'm more pursuing the more commercial financial analyst sort of career path. So FP&A, which I'm actually currently doing the CFI FPAP course at the moment to help just just keep on improving my knowledge. But I definitely think that's more the route I'm really interested in at the moment. Just helping form strategic insights, but also really criticize and get underneath what's going on in a company, because there's so much oversight that can take place if and again, I love asking questions. I love finding out patterns within things. I love really just getting to the bottom of it, and that's the skill I want to continue using going forward.
Yeah, and I bet that you probably ask like for someone that has done either like an undergraduate and or master's degree in business related fields, whether it is general commerce or accounting, finance, we tend to have similar mindsets from all that education. So we end up kind of focusing on the numbers and asking uh, fairly predictable questions or more technical ones. But I find that whenever somebody comes from an arts background or science background, they ask different questions that the commerce students would have never asked. And
Yeah.
when they ask, they're always like, oh, that's like so interesting. I would have never thought of that. And so I think that you probably have a great skill in asking questions that are opening up discussions that other people have maybe never thought of. Um, I also wonder though, so without giving my age away, we are from, I'm significantly older. um, what types of tools do you use at work? I think they're probably very different than what I use. So, like when I was in capital markets, typically I think some things never change. I use a lot of Bloomberg, Excel, something called FactSet, which is for formatting presentations and doing data analysis. But when I was early in my career, we didn't have any of these new tools like Chat GPT, Claude, Gemini, all of these things at work.
Mhm.
Basically, if you wanted to write anything, you were writing it on your own. If you wanted to review something, you had to review it very thoroughly before passing it off to your associate. Um, what types of tools do you use today? What do you think is really helpful? Like, what are some skills that you are kind of developing outside of like traditional finance and Excel modeling?
So definitely, I use ChatGPT to definitely to spitball. I'd say is the best way I could
So,
describe
like
it.
your best coworker, right? Like always there, always wants to listen,
So
always
listen,
hearing.
yeah. Doesn't have to work. Don't have to wait at all on a response or just straight away. Yeah, it really helps me think about certain things, break things down. So I always use that as just something to chat to if I ever need to just a quick just to check something. But I at the moment have been using Power Query quite often. It's like that's
Oh,
just
wow.
the that's really been like the next step where I've just formulating data and where I've actually where because a lot of what my work involves is uh, mapping revenue, mapping margins across a country with different assets, formulating that in such a way where it's easily understandable and then can be put into a dashboard where I can use Power BI. That's really been the next step where I can not only do the work I need to do for myself, do the modeling, do a DCF or anything like that, but really have the actual output clear but also interactive, where maybe someone high level could say, okay, what's our utilization on in this part of the country by this type of charger, whereas before you'd have to go through a big Excel model. And for me, that's fine because I understand it. But where you have someone who just wants it straight in front of them, I think it's really been having to cater to that. And just ERP tools, or like sort of management, and some like accounting tools. I've used Microsoft Navision for a lot of just like, I guess it's similar to like a warehouse tool where if there's on operations, it's managing, helping with logistical management a lot of the time. That's been something I'm less used to, but definitely something that has been really interesting to learn as I've gotten on.
Just in our conversation so far, I just feel like I'm so excited to see where you take your the next, like year, 2, 3, 5 years, because you just seem like you have such a positive, optimistic outlook, and you are just so genuinely, curious and passionate about what you do. Where do you think you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Um, 5 years. Hopefully, I'm making the decisions that I want that I want to impact right now. I'd say, yeah. I hopefully I maintain the same outlook, and I'm just in somewhere where I actually feel like I'm making a difference, and just, but I still have more to learn. And I will still have more to learn. I think just as long as I'm in a place where I can keep on growing and I can be proud of, that's really where I want to be.
And if there are listeners who are, a couple of years behind you, and let's say they're just finishing up school right now, um, would you have any, little nuggets of wisdom or general advice that you would give someone that is hoping to one day kind of be in your position?
Yeah, I'd say just I'd say build a solid foundation, learn the fundamentals and learn them well, because there's nothing more useful that I've had is when I can go back to the basics of something. You never know when you've been in an Excel model for God knows how long and you're getting, you're so
Close your
focused.
eyes and just get
Yeah.
online.
Tunnel vision, and it's just just ground yourself in the truths that you have. It's the fundamentals, and just with data management, with accounting fundamentals, finance best practices, and just really just get to the point where it's instinct and just where you really feel comfortable with it. And I think no matter how overwhelming things can be, just trust yourself with that. And then I think yeah, if you do that, I think whoever you are will do amazing.
Okay, and then now I just have a fun rapid fire question round so that people can get to know Alex, you a little bit more personally. These are completely unrelated to finance or work. Um, and yeah, kind of just whatever first comes to mind. What show are you currently watching right now, whether it's on Netflix or Paramount or whatever platform? What are some shows that you're watching and that you're enjoying?
Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That's number one. It's basically HBO based on Game of Thrones. I've been watching Succession. I've never
Oh,
watched. Yeah, I've
so
heard
good.
it's really good, and I've just started it. So yeah, really into that. And I'm watching Medici on. I think it's on Netflix right now. It's all about the Medici family in Florence.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm so excited for you to finish Succession because I just remember hanging on the edge of my seat for every new episode. It was
Yeah.
so good.
My parents told me about it. I've told them that they're not allowed to spoil it at all. I'm binging it as quickly as I can.
My brother got me into it, and I remember I think it had been out for quite some time before I watched it, but he's just like, I just can't believe you of all people haven't watched that, but it was
Yeah.
so good.
Mm.
And what type of who's your favorite musician?
Oh, musician right now. Okay. Oh, don't know, Ed Sheeran has to come to mind. I feel like long standing. I absolutely love him. I play guitar and sing as well, so I'd say yeah, he's definitely one that's inspired me. I'd say
Do
yeah,
you have some sort of social platform or something that you share?
yeah, yeah. Just on my Instagram, I have a SoundCloud as well. Um,
Oh, you have so many fun interests.
Yeah, well, it's just I feel like outside of work, you need to have that creative outlet, and for me, it really helps if because I'm living in London. I can go to a gig afterwards or an open mic, and it's just I feel like it's creativity wherever you can find it, wherever gets your brain flowing, and sometimes it comes back around and actually helps me think more freely in my work. I think.
And if you could live in any part of the world today with no restrictions, where would you go?
Oh, right now, if I could go anywhere, I want to see the Himalayas. I'd want to see Nepal. I'd want to go up there, go up and see, just go mountaineering or something. I'd have to be that. Yeah.
Well, I can't think of a better note to close out our podcast on. That has been so much fun. Thank you so much, Alex, for taking the time to join me here today on our podcast. For those of you listening, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I know that there are many inspirational points that Alex has touched on. And until next time, I will see you all later.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. FinPod is brought to you by Corporate Finance Institute, the #1 rated online provider of finance and banking training, certifications, and productivity tools.